Cool. So, are we live?
You're live.
Oh, there we go. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another rendition of Pivot Ready Live. We're excited to be with you guys today. You got myself, Wesley, and Amy. She's with the operations side with Bergflow. I hope you guys have been listening to some of the last episodes that we were able to broadcast and have conversations. We're going down a road of mindset, strategy, tools. So if you missed the last two, they were specifically around mindset and strategy. Our aim is to educate and share some of the knowledge that we've learned dealing with businesses that are scaling, dealing with businesses that are struggling in scaling. Our focus predominantly is in the service-based businesses, in and around the home, commercial services. We're passionate about helping business owners succeed, gain the time and money freedom. So today, Amy and I are going to talk a little bit about some of the tools and how to look at tools. Some people look at tools in a certain way. Some people believe tools are going to be the breakthrough thing. So, Amy, what have you got for us today?
Well, I think the first thing is like the word tools. I'm sure certainly in the service industries, everybody knows what tools are in terms of if you're a carpenter, you're going to use a hammer. Um, if you're a window cleaner, you're probably going to use some sort of chemical. Like those are your actual tools.
Mm-hmm.
But I think so. The first thing I want to talk about is just kind of reframing that mindset just a little bit to say, like, what else in your life are tools? So, Wesley, my question to you to start off with is outside of business in your personal life, what is like the most important tool for your day? You're muted. Oh, there you go.
Sorry. I just saw on camera that my hair looks terrible. So, hey, it's for everybody's enjoyment then, not just mine. For me, if I talk about tools and my view around tools, the most important tool that I have is my journal. It's my daily planner. It's the thing that not only tells me what to focus on, but it helps me plan and structure my day. Um, Most business owners get very busy with moving papers, and they kind of ruffle through the papers to find the thing that is most urgent or most important. And then they get to a problem and they're like, you know what, I'm stuck. Let me rustle and find another piece of paper that I can focus on. And in conversations with business owners, I've learned that time blocking is one of those things that we set out to do, but we're not intentional around what we expect the outcome to be. So in a lot of my conversations, and when I meet people at trade fairs or when I meet business owners, I'm like, where are you stuck? And they say, well, I'm busy. I just don't have capacity. That's why for me, the first thing that any business owner has to do is take stock of your day. You start by firstly taking stock of what am I spending my time on? What time am I getting up? How much time am I spending on problem solving? How much time am I spending in the operations of my business or running after my service team, delivering stuff to site? How much time am I spending on actually generating new business? And I hear people say, well, I do a little bit of this and then a little bit of that and a little bit of that. And I say, okay, well, if we take a 5-day average for the week and I highlight all the growth activities, how many growth blocks did you have? So if it's 2 a day, that's 10 a week. What is your expected return on investment for giving 10 hours of your week to growth? And if you're not going into that time block session in your day to say, well, I need to sign one deal, I need to make one new contact, I need to get 5 new leads, then people always ask me, well, how do I build KPIs? That is a KPI. A KPI is measuring, how do you measure success? what is the expected outcome of this activity that I'm doing? And then to that point is, you see these little things creep in where people say, well, I did a little bit of admin and then I do a little bit of accounting and I do a little bit of, emailing. And it's like all that stuff is admin. And you have to ask yourself, is it a good use of your time as a business owner to be running around chasing payments? You've already done the work. You've planned it. You've scheduled it. It has been done. As a CEO, you should be focusing on the next deal and the next client, not chasing yesterday's payment. So it's easier to get an administrative clerk, or a bookkeeper or a bookkeeping company to say, hey, here's all my outstanding invoices. Please follow up on them. You can build a system around that. So for me, having something that tracks my day, and it's very specific. It starts with what successes am I celebrating? You start the day by saying, firstly, let me start on what I have done correctly, because it gives you impetus and momentum for the next day. So, and okay, I was productive yesterday. I wasn't just busy, but I was actually productive. I moved the needle. I solved stuff. And then, okay, what is my expectation of today? So recap my quarterly goals. Recap, what do I need to do this week and this day to achieve those quarterly goals? And then go into say, okay, here's an actual roster or a timestamp of my day, and write down everything. I spent 15 minutes talking to Amy. I spent 25 minutes making coffee. I drove for 30 minutes to, take a hose connector to a site. Whatever it is. And then you can say, okay, well, actually, I'm spending more time in one of the divisions of my company that I originally thought I did. And then from that point is you can start planning to say, okay, what is my expected outcome week after week? Because you need to build on success. So if I'm successful this week, I can continue building on that. So one of the things that Dirk says is time over task over time. And the only way where time over task becomes successful is if you measure that. And if you're successful with time over task, then you say, okay, how many times do I do that? That's what moves the needle. And the other side of that is a lot of companies will take, well, I had to deal with an ex-employee. I had to chase a payment. I had to fix something that's wrong. What you're doing is you're teaching the people and your leadership and everybody in your company, if there's a problem, come to me, I'll solve it. And people say, well, I'm the only person that knows to do it, or I have the trust, or this. If you don't have people that can help you solve problems, all your daily planner then becomes is a record of where you spend time. It's a lag measure. The intention of something like this is to have a lead measure. What are the lead activities that's going to drive my business? Not here's a bookkeeping activity on how I spend my time.
Well, and I think to add to that, I agree with you. I think probably one of the most important tools is my days, also my journal. The second most important tool, because I'm a very visual person, is my color coding system. But one of the things it does for me is because I spend time in multiple companies. And so I have time blocks assigned to different companies throughout the day. And yes, they're all beautiful and color coded, but it's a visual signal to me that like, hey, you have to stay focused for this amount of time. And it's a visual signal to me that like my personal time blocks also have time. So it's very important to me that, I stop working by like 6 o'clock so that I can start cooking dinner. So there's a line in my day that says like it's 6 o'clock and it's time to shift gears and switch your focus. And so I think all of the things that we've talked about as far as like strategy and mindset and all of that, it's getting clear, and now we're in the tool of execution. And so if what you decided way back in the mindset conversation around your personal gardens and your business and all of those things, like what you decided was important, it's in your journal as this is important to me and the time is blocked for it. or allocated to it or whatever. And then you're less likely to veer off track also. So it's not just the importance of like marking it down. It's actually it gives you a level of accountability. In my journal, one of the things that I write every day is the daily targets. And there's 3 targets for the day. And I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were shocked because obviously, like, I do this really consistently Monday through Friday. Those are my working days. But those 3 targets aren't always work related. I might really need to get some stuff done, like get some errands done or go take care of something in my personal life. And that might be one of my targets for the day. And so it's literally just, what are your priorities, your top 3 for the day that are non-negotiable you have to accomplish? And then I leave it open on my desk all day long. And so every time I get distracted, it's there, just all the bright colors screaming at me saying, nope, these are your 3 non-negotiables. Have you accomplished them yet today?
So, I mean, that's a great point, Amy. And again, I do a lot of research into how human minds work and how to get our minds to focus. Viktor Frankl wrote, when a person cannot find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure. And that's what we're all busy with that. When I speak to a business owner, they're like, oh, I did, an hour worth of growth work. I'm like, well, what is that? No, I was on Facebook. I do all these marketing things. I said, okay, were you really on Facebook building ads? Or did you spend 45 minutes looking at, fancy kittens and TikTok videos, and then 15 after posting something for 15 minutes? So yes, you have an hour to say I'm working on marketing in my business. And what this also is for me, it is my personal accountability partner. It becomes my accountability partner on what is it that I'm supposed to do today. I'm fortunate enough to be at home. I don't drive to an office. Most people are in that situation. Even if you're in an office, productivity, you probably get about maybe 50 to 60% productive hours out of anybody in a day. If you're not learning how to utilize that at the highest level, this is my accountability partner to say, stop wasting time. This is what you should be focusing on. A lot of people say, yeah, I have it electronically, and that's great. But a lot of guys, a lot of business owners miss meetings because they're like, oh, my phone wasn't set to this, or I didn't get this alert or something like that. It's not just about attending meetings. It's about what do you need to focus on in your business today. So time blocking, really, really important tool.
Well, I think that's important too, as far as tools go, to remember that this is a tool, but it's not necessarily always a good tool. I mean, Facebook can be a tool in our business, or it can be a tool that is completely distracting us and taking us away from productivity. And so a lot of tools, just like, a sledgehammer could be super useful for a lot of things, and putting in my hands, it can be super bad tool to use. So I think tools are tactical application. How are we getting things done? But they're not always necessarily positive things either. And I think when you start to look at things as tools, you look at your phone and you say it's just a tool, then you start to kind of take a different perspective of how is it impacting my life. This is a tool that I communicate with my husband through, but I mean, my husband's busy all day at work too. Is it really that important for her to be sitting right beside me? Probably not. Just different things like that. I think a lot of it is taking stock of the tools that we use and whether they are actually truly serving the most beneficial purpose for us as well.
I mean, great observation, Amy. Is my phone, your phone. Okay, I don't phone your husband, but you use that tool in support of building your relationship. Your relationship is not successful because you have a phone. The work still happens outside of the tool. And our business is the same. Having a one tool, having the best tool, the latest tool, the newest tool, it'll add to the effectiveness, but it doesn't make you successful. A scalpel doesn't make a good doctor. A good doctor uses a scalpel in a good way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So one of the other things that I was reading is there's an old African proverb that says, unlike the brain, the stomach alerts us when it's empty. And I thought that's very, very, very fitting for where we find ourselves today, is because we don't know how to properly use our time. We'll just sit on our phone and flick through pages and pages and pages of unnecessary, unentertaining entertainment, because we try and fill us the voids in our life, of, hey, I want to be entertained. Hey, I want to find something pleasurable. And that's why I always referred back to the number one tool. It's on my desk. I make all my notes in it. I always refer back to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that just this is a side note because I'm the same way, and I don't know if you're using the same journal as I am now or not, or if you're still using the other one, but the journal that I have, one page for every day, one page is blank. And that is where I write everything down. And so if it's hey, do this, like there's a note here that I have to return a phone call, or if it's hey, don't forget to ask Dirk about this tomorrow, or whatever it is. And then I have a habit on Friday afternoons, I flip back through all 5 pages from the week, and I look at all the notes, and I was like, okay, is there anything that got left undone? And so it's just and this is the other thing that's really, the other thing I kind of wanted to touch on is habits and routines are also tools.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast, and I couldn't tell you which one because I've listened to too many already this week, but they were talking about creating a discipline. If you do it long enough, it becomes mindless, and it's just what you do. And that is habits and routines and disciplines like that are also tools that help us grow and build and all of that as well.
So, and I'll give you a visual representation. So normally I make notes like this. Don't laugh. I mean, this is really important. This is where all my notes are. And I've had to learn to live like this. I have to learn to be structured, because this is convenient. And as you said, this is just a habit. I write stuff down, and everything that's important, I put a circle around it. But the thing is, I have 10 of these, and they stacked all over my desk. And you've mentioned, as you go at the end of the week and you take stock of everything that hasn't happened. And again, that senseless time stealers that show up in our day is, doing a little bit of this. A lot of business owners do not consider the cost of task switching. Now I'm working on this, and now I'm working on this. And without time blocking correctly, you're working on everything. And you're doing the same in the business. Is you're working on all the divisions. You're working on growth while you're working on services, and you're working in the operations division, all while wearing the CEO hat, but you're actually just fulfilling tasks within the sub roles. You're not truly operating at a CEO level. So let's talk about some of the workflow tools that we feel is something that could potentially help some clients.
Hold on, I lost my mouse. Okay, here we go. So to your point of what you were just talking about, the first one we're putting up on the screen is the bottleneck analysis. And I will attempt to possibly zoom in on it. There we go. So, go ahead, Wesley. You can explain it better than I can.
All right. So one of the things that we have to do is we have to do a self-assessment. Very few times do we come across business owners that have a true accountability partner. It's kind of left up to themselves. It's one of the benefits of being an entrepreneur, but it's also one of those dark spots that abyss where time goes, and nobody actually tells you, hey, I actually think you're wasting time. I actually think you're focusing on the wrong thing. I'm actually thinking you're getting stuck down this rabbit hole and it's not actually going to move the business. So something like this is a great tool. If you guys want to, just please comment. Amy will let you guys know later on how you can get this tool. We'll gladly give it to you guys. Are your goals documented? So it goes specifically through how do you do vision and goal setting? Is the bottleneck in your business lead generation or marketing? Is it prospecting? Are you getting leads but you're not closing them? And a lot of business owners say, well, what do KPIs look like in my growth division? Well, growth division, as we discussed, is only two things. It's lead generation and lead conversion. That's all. Yes, there's functions below that, marketing, cold calling, all these other functions, but ultimately your growth division does those two things. And going through an exercise like this, where you can say, where's my business getting unstuck? Am I dropping the ball on closing? I'm getting enough business, but I'm not closing. I don't have a closing ratio that I track, or I don't look after my clients well enough. So do I have a retention stat? Do I know how many repeat clients I have? What is my team member engagement? What's my control over my finances? Am I just looking at my P&L from a lag measure to say, hey, okay, where did my money go last month? Versus, hey, I'm actually planning on only allowing certain portions to be spent in certain divisions of my business. So it changes the mindset from lag to lead. And you start by taking stock of your business. Most business owners, most service-based companies that we deal with, they have some tools. It's like, hey, here's a checklist what we need to take to site. Here's, everybody must wear their shirt and closed shoes and a hat. So they all have those things, which are all, I'd say, standards. It's like, hey, this is the standard of how I want you to show up.
Systems.
Okay, systems. Thank you, Amy. Okay. In Amy's words, a system. And that's how you build systems. People say, well, who's going to build the system? The system, the tool is not the system. The system tells you how to use the tool. It's a divisional leader that helps you build the system. And that's where you've got to know who's going to build the system and in what form is the tool going to support them to do that. The tool's not going to make them successful. The individual fulfilling the role and the expectations around the role is what's going to make them successful. So they have checklists of, hey, this is what we need on site. But what is your return on investment for focusing on, as I said earlier on, 2 hours a day on growth? Do you have a system around tracking that? Do you have a tool that's going to say to you, yes, my closing ratio is improving. Yes, my lead generation is up. You know what? My servicing, like most service companies, is very well fleshed out. We know what we do. We know how we do it. We know how to do what we do really well. That's why people are going to go buy from ABC Cleaning. They're going to phone ABC Cleaning and say, hey, come and clean my commercial property or my residential property, which is fine. And most business owners come up through that channel in the business. It's the not understanding the requirements around operations. And that's where folding it back into the operations division to help build those systems. They don't design the tools. They just, and again, I'm not going to put words in your mouth. That's you're the genius in that space. But if you build systems, the systems will tell you which tools will give you the feedback so that ultimately you can say, the numbers are the language of business. What ultimately is going to give me a KPI, a number that I can track so that I can, as a business owner, speak the language of my business. My business is going to reply in numbers.
So we have a saying that we use quite often about culture, and Dirk always says, you have a culture in your company. It's either a positive culture or a negative culture, right?
Yeah.
Well, I heard a podcast yesterday with Craig Groeschel, and he said, you have a system in your company. It's either a positive system or it's an accidental system. And everything you do is systematized. You just have to be intentional about it. So this bottleneck analysis, and Wesley, to your point, the KPIs and those things, the system is not the tool. The system, although it's helping you execute, you have to have tools inside the system. It's just like if you're framing a wall, you know that the studs go, I don't know what they go, maybe 12 inches apart. I don't know how to frame a wall, but you have a system to frame the wall, but you have to have the tool to make the measurements. And so the bottleneck analysis is the tool that helps you analyze what systems do I have in my company, and are they serving me or are they hurting me? Are they intentional systems? And then on the flip side of that, what tools are we using to measure those systems? So this is kind of like a brief overview of where you're at, but then the KPIs, the measurements, those kind of things are an ongoing assessment of those systems and how they're functioning.
So
to your point, Wesley, I do want to argue with you for a second, because I don't think that operations always has to build the systems. I think operational people tend to be more systematic people, but oftentimes, if your operations people aren't out in the field, if they build a system, it might not be the most practical system.
Yeah.
So I like, yes, operations people are system minded and they're great resources to build systems, but we always have to remember, like, everybody has to have input on what those systems are.
Yeah, and I agree. So what I meant by that is operations people think in systems, and the intention of that is use your operations division to help you build systems, because systems are scalable. It allows you to build your product, your service, your delivery independent of an individual, a skill set attached to an individual. Operations is the division that's going to help you systematize what you do, not actually build the system, but systematize what you do. And to that point, I'm going to say something, and Amy has to agree to never use it against me. I read it. If you don't have time to do it right, what makes you think you have time to do it twice? So now that Amy has publicly acknowledged that she's never going to hold that against me, it comes back to the notion of slow down to go fast. And that for me is what my daily planner is for me. Is I need to slow down enough to finish something or do something to the point where the only thing that it does is it spits out a result. Getting it to 85%, 95%, getting it to 99% still does not meet the requirement. Yes, we have the tendency to say, what's next? This, which is great, but we have to drive all the way to the point. Yes, there is things like MVP. We want to put stuff out that's MVP, which is fine. But part of that is, if it's MVP, what is the plan to circle back to get it to perfection? Otherwise, everything in your business is just going to be MVP. Your systems, your processes, your tools, your quality control, your services, your growth, your follow-up on your growth, your retention, your return on investment, on where you spend your time and your resources. So yeah, that for me, I'm going to put it up on my office that says, Amy says. I'm going to have
I know, I'm kind of disappointed I didn't just come up with that quote on my own, actually. Okay, so we've referred a lot to operations, and Wesley, you've referred a lot to services and growth in the past. So one of the things that, because I'm going to put it up on the screen next, we just have to talk about is a tool that we use as BergFlow in our coaching in all of the companies that we help scale, is the SOG model. And the SOG model is the CEO obviously sits at the top. They then have 3 key leaders in their company: services, operations, and growth. Those are the 3 key divisions in your company, all headed by a key leader. That is one thing that's like the briefest, quickest overview that I can give you. But if you're interested in the SOG model, or you want to learn more about that, it's probably one of the tools that maybe makes the most impact in our clients' lives. Wesley, would you agree with that?
I would 100% agree with that. I mean, we had a conversation before we went live on exactly that. Is, you know, as CEO or as divisional leader, who do you need to hire? What's the next hire you need to make? What is the expectation of that role? And a lot of times, people have expectations of people. And if I have expectations of you, Amy, and then I'm putting my trust in your ability, which means I haven't built a system for you to operate in. Even if I don't have a system, that becomes part of my expectation of you in that role, is to systematize your role. So
Yeah.
again, the reliance becomes, what is the structure of my business? So there are three things. You can pull up the tool. So it works service operations and growth. So in effect, CEO, you own the company. That's why you started the business. Services is everything where you exchange value for money. It's the transactional side of your business, right? Operations, Amy can fill in the blank right there. And then growth, as I said earlier, has two functions: gets leads, converts leads, right? The thing that I want to point out here is, this again for us is a tool that we use. It says what needs to be improved right now, not what's all the stuff. What is the one thing? What is the one thing that I need to work on right now? What are the numbers that's going to tell me that it's improved? And what does the next level look like? And that's true for all three divisions, including the CEO. You have to allow your business to speak back to you in numbers: financial numbers, production numbers, conversion numbers, service numbers, cost of services, cost of goods sold, what's your tax liability. Everything in your business is going to reply with a number. Everything. How many people do you have in a division? That's a number. Everything in your business is a number. A lot of people don't know, what does it look like at the next level? When this is sorted out, what is the next level? And so in effect, what that means is you're pushing up against the ceiling, and everybody's like, hey, I want to break through the ceiling, without knowing what you wanted to look on the other side. You're going to break through that ceiling and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I just landed on Mars. I have no idea what to do now that I'm here. I used an analogy a while ago. For those who are interested, reach out to me. I'll explain it to you a little bit more in detail, or you can Google it. Amy did not know this. It is a turtle on a fence post. So it says, how did they get there in the first place? Now that they're there, they don't know what to do. And you know that they didn't get there by themselves, in essence. So a lot of times we get to the certain point and we're like, okay, now what? You just got unstuck in the one spot and you're just getting stuck in the next spot. Is you have to go back to, what is the mindset of why I'm moving forward? What is the strategy of moving beyond this? It's not just, struggling one foot in front of the other. It's, imagine yourself getting out of the muck and picking up momentum. All of a sudden your expectations has to change. So if you guys are interested in talking about this tool, you guys are welcome. Amy will put some contact information up. You guys are welcome to reach out to us. We'll make the tool available for you guys as a PDF.
And I want to mention really quick, Wesley, this tool, whether you currently have the SOG model in place in your company, whether you currently have the key leaders in place in your company, this tool is a really good place for you to start looking at your company in this model of, okay, if I break services out, what is happening today and where is it going? And this is a really good beginning point, whether you have that SOG model in place or not. So even if it's, you sitting in this seat, you sitting in this seat, you sitting in this seat, you can still fill out this tool as a starting point for you to kind of start to paint the direction of where you're going as well.
And that's the thing, is the two tools that you showed on the screen today is, one is going to show you, okay, I'm going to do a bottleneck analysis. This is where I'm stuck. Now, just knowing that doesn't mean anything unless you have a plan to say, okay, what does improving this look like? Because I can tell you now, a lot of business owners say, well, if I can just get more business, my business will be fine. If we 10x your business overnight, do you have the service division? Do you have systems and processes on how to hire technicians, how to train your technicians to become senior technicians or team leaders, all that type of stuff? That's a system that needs to live within your service division. It is not, hey, I just need more leads and then everything will be fine. Because if that's the only thing and you just focus on that, then breakthrough happens. But the moment you put gasoline on that part there, your business mushrooms, and you don't have an economic model, as an example, that's scalable, that's profitable on the servicing side because you're paying commission or you're paying overrides to your technicians. If you don't do the work on that side, you can get 10x business tomorrow and you will become unprofitable very quickly because you don't have the economic model that supports that as well. So always start with saying, okay, where am I stuck? Second question, how do I get unstuck? And it's not, hey, how am I going to fix it? So I know that you've got some more stuff to share on that. I know that Berklow offers strategy sessions as well, people to get into conversation with Berklow as well. So anything from your side, Amy, that you want to add?
Well, I think circling back around, last week we talked about strategy, and you can have the best strategy in the world, but if you don't take the tools to analyze where you're at and how you're getting there and how you're going to execute the strategy and how you know if the strategy is working, if you don't have mindset, strategy, and tools all working together cohesively, none of them are going to work at all. The greatest mindset in the world, you can be the most ambitious, positive, disciplined person, but if you don't have a strategy of where you're going, you're going to do the same thing over and over and over every day. And so all three of these things have to work very cohesively. So to your point, Wesley, we have, whether you're listening to this today, which is August 30th, I think. I don't even know the date. Okay. Or anytime in the future, anything like that, we're just going to put this up as an easy contact. If you email contact@berklow.com, you are going to get a hold of one of our awesome team members, Adriana. You can reference, hey, I would like those tools that you made available. They are called the Design Snapshot and the Bottleneck Analysis. You can ask us about the SOLVE model. You can ask, as Wesley said, we do a 45-minute strategy session where we kind of help you do these worksheets. Honestly, it's looking at where your business is currently, where you're stuck, where you want to go, how the best route to get there is, and kind of just helping you process the information if you're getting a little stuck in just that paralysis by analysis phase. You can just email Adriana at this email address. She can hook you up with whatever you are needing or whatever the best next step for you is. And she's amazing, so she will get back to you as well. Also, coming up October 20th and 21st, we do still have our Pivot Point training. It is a 2-day deep dive training into the structure, hiring, talent, building of leadership teams. It will be in Nashville. You can get to it via our website at berklow.com/pivotpoint. I believe there's also a link on our homepage. So those are the two biggest, you can take action today by viewing either one of those two things. We can get you some tools to help you start working, or you can get your ticket to Pivot Point. And in just a short, month and a half or so, we can help dive in with you as well.
Perfect. Yeah. So, we're always excited to be in conversation with people. If you guys want to talk to the Berklow team, I'd highly recommend that. We'll gladly share some of the struggles that we've had. It's not that we say we do everything correct. Admittedly, there are things that we still do every day. And leadership, is 10,000 hours of study, 50,000 hours of field application. So it is a constant evolution. of becoming a better leader. So yeah, we're growing as leaders. Hopefully you guys are interested in growing as leaders, and would love to be in conversation with you guys. So we thank you guys for joining us today on our Pivot Ready Live. Just the email again, contact@broflow.com. Any questions, you're welcome to post it there. If you guys want to have specific conversations around, hey, I've got somebody in this role in my business, we can get you connected with that person in our company as well, to say, hey, I need to find clarity around what does this mean? What do you guys mean by what you say when you articulate it in a certain way? But yeah, Amy, anything from you wrapping us up?
I don't think so. I think that's all we had for today. I think actually what we're going to probably do for the next month, since we're at the end of August and we're moving forward, is touch a little bit on what each of these key positions have. So follow us on Facebook, check us out. We'll try to put some updates on there as we get the schedule set, and we'll try to do a little bit better job of giving you a little bit more forewarning. But I think over the next few weeks, we'll dive into kind of what it looks to sit in each one of these roles.
Perfect, guys. Have a great day. Thanks, everybody.